All right, this is a help video. Some of you have requested me to help you catch up a little bit. All right, so this is page 19, week 3, essential questions. Describe how to factor by grouping. When you factor by grouping, what you're actually doing is you're going to factor. First, you always find GCF, find GCF. Then after you find GCF, you're going to find the factors. You're going to find GCF of 2 factors at a time of the first 2 terms, and then GCF of the second 2 terms. Then the last 2 terms. Okay, so you find GCF of the first 2 terms, and find GCF of the last 2 terms. Okay, and then lastly, you're gonna simplify that expression so that it's written in all factors. Okay. All right, so describe how to factor a trinomial where A is 1. What you're doing here is you know that you automatically are going to know that your answer is going to be 2 binomials, okay? Okay, there'll be 2 binomials, all right? And you're gonna put 1 variable in each binomial. So if it's x squared, you're gonna put x here and x here. If it's n squared, you're gonna put an n here and an n here. If it's whatever variable it is squared, because remember these are quadratic functions. After which you're gonna use the factor sum chart to find these 2 numbers here, okay? Find the signs, whether it's positive or negative in each one, and the other number. These numbers here. Okay. Week 4, same question as week 4. This is page 20. Same question as before. Describe how to factor by grouping. You're going to do these same steps for week 4 essential questions. And then number 2, it says describe how to factor when the first same question there again for week number 4. Let me look back at week 4. There's another question that I forgot to include. Let me make sure that I have it. And let's see here. Describe how to factor trinomial where a is greater than 1. Describe how to factor trinomial. Oh, well, I goes here. Where a is greater than 1. So to factor where a is greater than 1, what you're actually doing there is you're going to multiply the first coefficient and the last and the constant together. Number 1, you're going to multiply the first or the leading coefficient. You're going to multiply the leading coefficient and constant, the number that has no variable, together. Then you're going to use factor sum. Chart. And then lastly, you're going to factor by grouping. And those are your steps there. Okay? All right. So let's go to page 18. Some people asked about video number 2. This is week number 3. So let me go back to week 3. And we are doing video 2, which happened to be on Tuesday, April the 21st. So you watch the video and then you work out the problems. Okay, this is video 2. All right, so this first one, you are going to be factor by grouping. Okay, so we got 40 x y plus 30 x minus 100 y minus 75. You always look to see if there's a GCF for each of these, and there is not one single GCF here. Okay. All right. So now you're going to factor by grouping. So that means you're going to find the GCF of the first 2 terms and GCF of the second 2 terms, just like we wrote in our notes or for those EQs. So your GCF here is going to be 10x, okay? They have at least one x in common. So we got 10x, greatest common factor for 40 and 30 is 10. So we're going to take out a 10x. We take out a 10x here, we're left with 4y. Plus, we take out a 10x here, we're just left with 3. Okay? Here, what they have in common is 25. So we're going to take out a negative 25. When we take out 25 here, we're left with positive 4. Sorry. So we got 4y. And here we're left with a positive 3. And to check this, we could multiply this back out to see if it actually works. Last step, we're going to write this so that we're going to simplify this so that it's written as factors. So when we simplify this, we notice that 10x and 25, negative 25, are both being multiplied by the same binomial. So when this happens, you can put these two in a parentheses together, 10x minus 25, and you can multiply it by the same binomial. So these are the 2 factors. You factored it. This binomial times this binomial is going to give you this. Okay. Number 2, you got 75 a to the second c minus 45 c to the second d minus 30 b c plus 18 b d. Okay, you're going to factor by grouping again. You're going to factor these 2 together and then these 2 together. Okay, so remember, if you can't, I'll show you how to do this in the calculator again. I believe I showed you one time before. If you watched the video that I created the first time, you can go to math. Where's my math? You can go to math, and then you go over to num, and then you go down here where it says GCD, and you're going to type in 75, and you type in comma 45 because you're factoring the first 2. Close the parentheses, and you get 15, okay? So I can take out a 15, and they don't have an A in common, but they do have at least one C in common, and that's all. So I can take that out. So when I do that, remember, if I can't remember, I take 75 and divide it by 15. Do you see how I can do that? And of course, that's going to give me, look, you see that? 5. And what's left is a squared here, and there's not a c left. Minus, I can do the same thing for this. I can say 45 divided by the 15 if I forgot, and that's going to give me 3. You have 1 c left. If you take out a c, you only have 1 c left, and you have a d, okay? All right, so now you can do the same thing for 30 and 18. Go back to math, and then go over to num, and go down to GCD, and you could type in 30, comma, 18. All right, close the parentheses. Oops, sorry. And then you see that gives you 6. So you can take out a 6. So I'm gonna take out if I want these to be the same, that first number is a negative. I'm gonna take out a negative so I can get the parentheses to be the same. So I'm gonna take out a -6. If I take out a -6, do they have any letters in common? They have a B in common, so I can take out a B. And so what I'm left with is 5. Oh, what's that? I wrote this wrong. This was supposed to be a squared. Dang it. So I was supposed to take out an a squared and leave the c. Yeah. I was supposed to take out this a squared and leave the d. My apologies. All right, so kind of messed this problem up, but we're gonna keep it going, okay? No worries about it. We're gonna keep it pushing. So when I take out a b here, I'm left with 5c, and when I take out -6 here, I'm left with minus 3d. Okay, and so then what I see is these are the same. So I can put these two in the parentheses together. That's 15a squared minus 6b, and times 5c minus 3d. And this is your answer. Okay? All right. The next one, I'm just going to write this down. It's 13. Oh, it's so hard to see everything. Okay. R X Y minus 9 RX. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing again, okay? You're going to factor these two together, then factor these two together, okay? So when you do that, you can go to your calc again, go to math, go down to go over to num, GCD. You're doing 192, comma 72. Okay, and that is going to give you 24. So you're going to take out a 24. Okay, they both have at least one x in common, and they don't have any other variables in common. Okay, so then you say 192 divided by the 24, and that gives you 8. So you're left with 8. You took out one x, so you have another x left because that's x squared, and you have a y left. Then you're going to say 72 divided by 24, and that's going to give you plus 8. And you have nothing else left there, okay? You're going to do the same thing here. If you don't remember, again, go to how to find GCF, go to math, num, GCD. You got 24, comma, 9. Close your parentheses, okay? And so then that gives you 3. You see that? I want these to be, the parentheses to be the exact same. So I'm going to take out that negative so it can be positive. So I'm going to take out a negative 3. And they both have R in common, because this is supposed to be an R here. Okay. I had squeezed this R in earlier. So they both have an R in common. Then they both have one X in common at least. So when I take this out, I'm left with a positive 8. I took out an R, I took out an X. And that was this was, I took out, no, that's right. So what I took out an X, and I have a Y left. And then here I took out a negative 3. So this one didn't come out perfectly at all. Let's took out a 3, positive 3, sorry. And then I took out, so what's left? We got no R and just an X, okay? And I believe what happened, did I do that right? No, I didn't do that right. That's what happens when you rush, isn't it? 72, what did I do? Divided by 24. What was I thinking? Sorry, y'all. All right, so that still didn't work out perfectly because I took out an R, I took out an X, so I'm left with the Y. If I take out a 3, that gives me the 8Y, so that worked out good. But then when I took out a 3 here, that left me with a positive 3. I took out an X, so that left me with a positive X here. Okay, so what happened over here? It just doesn't work out perfectly, so I have to leave it just like this. Okay, I have to leave it alone. If I can't, if they're not exactly alike, just leave it be, and that's simplified, okay? And I may have written it wrong. 90 AU 36 AV minus 150 YU plus 60 YV. And you're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, you can do that one on your own. Okay? All right. Page 19, you have your factoring assessment, grouping and factoring assessment. You're going to do the same thing that you did on the other page. Okay? Actually, it's about 6 problems on this particular assessment, but I'll go through this one with you again. Okay? You're going to factor by grouping. So there again, let me go back. You go to math. You go to num. Okay. You go down to GCD. And the first one we have 63, comma, 54, close parentheses. Do you see that? So we take out a 9. Okay. And we could have took something out. We should have found GCF first. Well, a lot of us did not find GCF first with this problem. So I'm just going to keep going, okay? And I'll show you what to do at the end when you don't do that. All right, so they at least have 2 n's in common. So I'm going to take out n to the second. Okay, remember, when you do this, you have 63 divided by the 9. And you see how that gives us that 7. N is left. We got the same 54 divided by the 9. And you see how we have that 6 left. And no n. Okay. All right. Here we do the same thing again. We go to math. We got GCD. Go over to num and then go down to GCD. 105, comma 90, okay? And that gives you 15. So I want them to be the same, so I'm gonna take out a negative 15, okay? Do they have anything else in common? No. 105 divided by 15, and that gives us 7. So we got 7 in here. And then you have 90, and you know what that is, divided by 15. That gives you a 6 there. Okay? These parentheses are the same, okay? So you can put these two in the parentheses together. 9n squared minus 15. And right beside it, you can put the binomial that they are both being multiplied by. Now here at the end, look, there's a GCF here. Take the GCF out. You got to check it. Since you didn't do GCF up here, you're going to have to do it down here. Don't have a GCF here, but you do have a GCF here, and it's 3. So take out a 3, and that gives you 3n squared minus 5. And that's your answer. All right, now when you have a trinomial, okay, when you're factoring a trinomial here, you're going to have 2 parentheses here, okay? You are going to do, cut this off. You're going to put B here and B here, okay? Then you are going to do your factor sum. So you're going to factor the last number, which is your constant, which is 8. And you're going to see what 2 factors can be added together to give you a sum of negative 6. Okay, we've done this a bunch of times. So here we could do, when we factor, they both need to be negative, because a negative times a negative is going to give us a positive. But then when we add the negatives together, we get a negative answer. So we have negative 2 and negative 4. Negative 2 plus negative 4 is equal to a negative 6. So we're going to use minus 2 and minus 6. And those are the factors there. Okay? Minus, why I say 6? 4. Don't let me do this, y'all. Don't let me. Miss Reyes, you can't be losing your mind. All right, got it? You have to finish the rest of the assessment problems for week 3. I can't do all of those for you. All right, so now we have our week 5 warm-up. We ask for those. All right. So with your week 5 here, you were asked to find, Monday, you were asked to find the area of this. So to find the area of this odd figure, or this rectangle on top of another rectangle, you do length times width. You see how I did this? I find the area of the small rectangle. So that's length times width. So that's going to be this x times this x minus 5 right here. Then I find the area of this larger one here. So in order to find that, that's going to be x minus 10 times 2x plus 15. All right, so how do you get that part? So you see right here, this I have to subtract from this right here to figure out what would be left. So do you see how I subtracted this from this so I can figure out what this bottom length is? And that's how I got this x minus 10. So I got the length just from here to here. This length is x minus 10. And this longer length right here, this width, is 2x plus 15. So I multiply these two together, okay, by using the distributive property twice. So that means I'm going to multiply x times this parentheses, then negative 10 times what's in the parentheses, and combine the like terms. All right, so when I do that, this is what I get. When I multiply this together, this is what I get. So I'm going to combine the like terms, and this is what I get as my answer here. For Tuesday, okay, for Tuesday, I worked backwards. They gave me what my zeros were, or where my parabola crossed the x-axis. They gave me crossed at 2, and then it crossed again at 7. So this is what I know. I know that in order to get an answer that's at where x is equal to 2, my parentheses have to look like this, where x minus 2, okay? In order to get a positive 7, my parentheses or my factor has to look like this, x minus 7, okay? So, because look, this is how that works. X minus 2 equals 0. To solve for x, I add 2 on both sides. So this gives me x is equal to 2, okay? And then I do the same thing. X minus 7 is equal to 0. I add 7 on both sides, and that's going to give me x is equal to 7. So that's how, working backwards, I know that my factors have to be this, okay? So now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply these two binomials together. That means I'm going to take x and multiply it times the parentheses. That's why I have this. Then I'm going to take negative 2 and multiply it times this parentheses. That's why I have this. So when I do that, x times x is x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. And negative 2 times x is going to give me negative 2x. Negative 2 times a negative 7 is going to give me a positive 14. Combine like terms. The only two terms that have the same variable and exponent attached to it is the 2 in the middle. So that's how I get this negative 9. So this is going to be my answer for Tuesday. For Wednesday, if I solve by factoring, that means I have to get all of the terms, or all of these terms or numbers to the same side so that x is equal to 0. So move the 2x over here by subtracting it, and move 17, positive 17, by subtracting it. So then what I get here, when I subtract these terms to put it over here, when I subtract this from this, I get the negative 5. When I subtract these two, I get negative 24. So that's why I get this line right here, okay? So now when I factor, going back to factoring the trinomials, I have two binomials. This is x squared, so I put an x in each parentheses. I'm going to do my factor sum chart. So I'm going to factor this last number here, negative 24. And that means I'm going to figure out what two numbers can be multiplied together to give me 24. But when I add them, it gives me a negative 5, the number in the middle. And the only two would be a positive 3 and a negative 8. Because when I add positive 3 plus a negative 8, that's the only thing that's going to give me a negative 5, the middle number here. So in the parentheses, I put these two numbers. That's going to be positive 3 and negative 8. Or you can put negative 8 and positive, doesn't matter. So when you solve this, you set each of these factors equal to 0. So this is going to be x is equal to negative 3, x is equal to a positive 8. Okay? All right. That's the warm-up here. Okay, video, page 31. Oh, video 4. Sorry. Give me a second. Video 4. This is week 5. We did that on May the 7th. Okay? Page 31. All right. So for these problems right here with range and domain, I should have printed that. Hold on. see if I have. Screen don't want to print. I don't know why it doesn't want to print. Give me a second. So sorry. Okay, maybe it'll print. I don't know. All right, so for these problems here, you have to be able to look at a picture and be able to decide where the axis of symmetry is and vertex. All right, so this is pretty simple. If I have a parabola, okay, the axis of symmetry is the line that cuts the parabola in half, okay? So if this is the line that cuts it in half right here, whatever this is, like if this is 1 on the x-axis, then x is equal to 1. Whatever this point right here is the vertex, okay? Your x and your y there, that's the vertex. Since it's a downward parabola, this is the highest point, so your vertex is going to be your maximum number, okay? These right here are your x intercepts, okay? This is where your line crosses the x-axis. This is your x-intercept. This is where your line crosses the x-axis, okay? So that's all you're doing in these pictures is to decide what your vertex is, what your x-intercepts are, oh, and your y-intercepts, sorry. Wherever the parabola crosses the y-axis, this is going to be your y-intercept. Okay, so another picture, if it's upward U, again, this right here is your vertex. Okay, X, Y. Since it is an upward parabola, this is the lowest point, so this vertex is going to be your min. Your vertex can't be both max and min. It's either one or the other. Where the line or your parabola crosses the x-axis is called your x-intercept. Another word for x-intercept could be roots. I've got to say that. It could be roots or it could be zeros. They all mean the same thing, okay? All right, they all mean the same thing. Zeros is just saying that y has to be 0 when it crosses the x-axis, okay? All right, your y-intercept, if it keeps going, it would eventually cross up here somewhere. That's your y-intercept, okay? All right, axis of symmetry is the line that cuts the parabola in half. It's always going to be x is equal to because it's a vertical line, okay? It's a vertical line, that's why. All right, and that's all you're doing on this page is that those things, okay?